So Tennessee is allowing teachers to conceal carry in schools. Now, let me explain. I've been against this in my home state. And I'll tell you the reason why I'm against this in my home state. A lot of southern states, the union, especially the teachers union, is not as powerful as it is in other states like California, New York, blah, blah, blah. Okay? In my home state, you still need a license to buy a handgun. The High Court did not change that. The High Court merely said that in virtually every state now, you no longer need to suck a dick in order to get a concealed carry license. And all the liberal governors are still in open defiance of that in some cases. They're passing unconstitutional laws or they're obstructing the court. But in my home state, you still need a license to buy a handgun. And they further said you need either A, have a semi-automatic rifle license to buy a semi-automatic rifle, or B, if you have a handgun license, pay a fee, and have your handgun license updated to accept rifles. Yeah, more money for the government, right? So, if you were to tell teachers in my home county, my home state, to carry guns in school, they would have to go to take the 8-hour safety class. That doesn't change at all. After that, they have to go back and take a test, written test. And it's mostly common sense. You point a gun at someone, leave a gun where the baby can reach it. It's mostly common sense shit. Okay? And they have to go to the courthouse in person. Well, no, they can call the courthouse and get the application mailed to them for shipping fee, obviously. The application is this thick. They get asked every question. How often do you drink alcohol? Do you do drugs? You have been arrested? If so, give us the arrest records. Okay, you want to commit suicide? They ask you every question. It's almost like being a cop. You get asked every question. They don't fuck around. In fact, the application to get the handgun in New York State is actually more strict than the ATF application to get the machine gun. Not even joking. And you gotta go back to the courthouse in person, hand to the detective. They take your fingerprints 3 times. Once for the state police, once for the county police, once for the FBI. Then you have to pay a fee for processing all that bullshit. Okay, they take your picture. And when you get the license, they mail you a letter saying the license is approved, come and get it. The first time you gotta go down in person again. You don't gotta go down every 5 years, but you gotta go down in person the first time. You go pick up your license, hey, I just got my letter. This is my letter saying I can get my license now. Okay, good. They open up your file, and they look at your picture, and they make sure that the guy picking the license up is the same guy that did the application. So you can't have your friend do your fingerprints for you when you're a convicted felon. Okay? Take your picture again, take your thumbprint again, give you the license, a physical person. And every 5 years, you renew the license by mail. Okay? Now, between the 8-hour class, if you have 2 guys, it's 4.5 hours. But if you have like 10 guys, it's okay, it's about 8 hours, but it's usually about 4. Okay, then going to the courthouse could take you. Our county courthouse down here, you got a park, go inside. It's a hassle. And then going to the city courthouse, we just drive right in. So all that shit takes up time. And the teachers union will say flat out, because the teacher's doing it for work, they get paid. And the safety class could take up to 8 hours, usually 4 hours. You gotta pay the teacher up to 8 hours because they have to clear the schedule for that. The teacher can't just say, okay, I'll take the class from 9 to 1 and then I'll go to dinner with my friends. No. The teachers would say, we have to clear 8 hours out of our schedule for that class. So that's 8 hours of pay right there. And they gotta take the written test. Okay, drive to the range, get the test, fill it out, get back in another hour. Okay. Courthouse. What courthouse you going to? My courthouse? My county? Ooh. Okay. Drive there, park, go inside, do the application, come back out. Okay. Get the letter in the mail. Go back to the courthouse. Get the license physically. Come back out. Okay. Now, that is time, and time is money. And the teachers union would say, because our employees are working, they get paid. They're carrying a gun to school for work. That means all the licensing, the hours they put in, they get paid for that. And to be honest, yeah. Because when I go for my training, I have to do training for my police job once a year. And training, I have to do meetings for my overnight job. And that's money, and they pay us. They tell us flat, we have to pay you. You are legally required to get paid to work. Because sitting in this classroom, watching a lesson is a job. You have to be paid for that. That's New York State law. And the teachers, if they have to go down on Saturday or Sunday to get their handgun license, that would be a job for them. That's money. And I personally don't blame them for that. It's one thing if you say, I want my handgun license myself. That's my personal decision. But if you're doing it for your job, that's money. How much does the teacher make an hour? Well, they get paid a yearly salary, weekly salary, but factor in their weekly salary divided by how many hours, blah, 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 you get an hourly figure. Or a day's pay. Call it a day's pay. Let's call it a 1 day's pay. Now, if that teacher's working 40 hours between Monday and Friday, they work about 35. Unless they got to do detention or coach the basketball team or do tutoring. But they get about 35 hours a weekend. Once that teacher hits 41 hours in a week, overtime, time and a half pay. Here's the real kick in the teeth. If the teacher is doing the licensing during their summer vacation, their contract says they cannot be asked to work unless they're doing summer school. Summer school is different, but unless you are a teacher doing summer school from September 1st to June 30th, okay? That's your year. From July 1st to August 31st, they cannot ask you to work. So the union will say, okay, the teacher is getting their handgun license for work. That's money. They're taking the class in the middle of the summer vacation. Okay, and they're going to probably have the license by the middle of next year. Because it takes about 5 months. Because the teacher has to work after June 30th and before September 1st, overtime. Automatic. Do they need an armed guard license? If the state wants them to have an armed guard license to carry a gun to school, another 8-hour class, another 16-hour class, and 72 hours of actual firing time. More money. Now, the gun itself. The teachers would say the gun is a tool of school. I'm carrying my gun in school to protect students. Therefore, I want the gun at taxpayers' expense. And maybe the union will say, okay, give each teacher a $500 voucher for a gun. If it costs more than that, they pay out of pocket. Fine. Or maybe the union will be like, I pay the full amount. Now, how many teachers are there? How many are carrying guns? It adds up. Now, in Tennessee, you don't need a license to buy a handgun, only to carry one. And I have no idea about the concealed carry requirements on there. I don't know. But they died as soon as up here. Armed guard. I have no idea about the armed guard license down in Tennessee. They might need it to be a teacher in school armed. I don't know. But also keep this in mind. If a teacher's carrying a gun in school to protect the kids, that is a job. And that means they're going to want a bonus salary on top of that. Okay? I was in favor, and I still am in favor, of hiring a dedicated armed guard. Not arming the teachers themselves, but hiring a dedicated armed guard. Now in Tennessee, I imagine more teachers own guns already. In Tennessee, I imagine more teachers have concealed carry licenses already. Okay? In Tennessee, the mentality of carrying is a lot different than it is in New York, New Jersey, Connecticut, Delaware, Maryland, okay, Hawaii, California. It's a lot more different. Okay? So they might have it easier for them to carry guns in school for teachers. But I would suggest a dedicated armed guard whose sole job is that. That would mean that that dedicated armed guard would most likely not be participating in most school activities. Okay, if you have a discipline problem in the classroom, regular security, regular administrators. Okay, you could not have an armed security guard or armed officer, whatever they call themselves, going into class and taking a kid to the office. Because that's sort of a militaristic thing, where a guy has a gun and is taking a kid to the class that's closer to police and school security. So you would need to have regular school security and regular administrators to deal with regular problems. And the armed guard would only be available to deal with actual threats to the school itself. Shootings, stabbings, other weapons, invasion, outsiders intruding, stuff like that. In fact, you most likely would have to have the armed guard outside the school physically. All day. Unless he has to go to the bathroom. Because having an armed guard walking among the kids and disciplining them is going to be uncomfortable for them, especially little kids. So the armed guard would be an outsider in a way, who would be standing on the perimeter of the school, doing perimeter checks, doing locked door checks, doing surveillance camera checks, and he or she would only take action in the event of an actual crisis. Now, Tennessee, immediately after the shooting at the Christian school, they immediately began implementing a mandatory safety program. And they're going to define that. They're probably working on it now still, but what does that mean? Does it mean surveillance cameras, bulletproof doors, single point entry? Single point entry means that there's only one way into school. That means all the doors are locked from the outside, and you have to come in one way. And there will be security at that entrance, so you will be seen. And once the bell rings to start the school day, the door is closed. And if you want to come into school, you have to go into that way, knock on the door, have the guard open it for you. And who are you? I'm a student. Where's your student ID? Here it is. Okay, you're late. Go in and get a late pass to go to class. Who are you? I'm a parent. Who's your child? My child is blah, 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 blah. Okay. Go in and talk to the principal. Or sign in, or what are you here to pick them up for after? Are you here to pick them up early? Was there a family emergency? Are you here for a meeting? Go and talk to the principal. Who are you? I'm a college recruiter. Okay, go in and sign in and show you right the secretary. So you can't go back in after the bell rings up being seen by a security guard and being directed the way you gotta go. Now, God forbid the school has a fire, the doors can open up and you can filter out. So you can get out, but you can't get back in. That's single point entry. Surveillance cameras, first aid kits, shooting drills, things like that. That would be yeah. But Tennessee was the first state to mandate a program for public schools. And they say, we cannot mandate this for private schools, but we want them to opt into it if possible. But at least Tennessee's doing something. At least they say, well, we'll arm a teacher, we'll arm a security guard. At least they're doing something. Okay? There are schools that, in the aftermath of a school shooting, the students demand more gun laws, the parents demand more gun laws, and we saw a couple of years ago, we had students all over the country, even in my hometown, walk out of school demanding another gun law be written. One more gun law on top of many. And we saw a couple of incidents where there was a student who was at the state house talking into the microphone, and there was a lawmaker standing right next to them, telling them what to say. Okay, and no security, no surveillance cameras, no screenings, none of that shit. No, none of that shit. Just simple propaganda for more gun laws. Okay, well, newsflash: most of the kids that commit school shootings are bringing guns anyway. The fact that bringing guns to school is against the law. The fact they kill guys is against the law. Okay, sometimes the gun is stolen. Sometimes it's bought illegally. Sometimes it's bought through a third party, which is straw purchase, which is also a federal crime. Okay, I mean, you very seldom, if ever, have an 18-year-old high school kid buy a gun legally and go to school and kill guys with it. Most of the time, it's bought illegally, stolen, or somehow found by other means. So if having one more gun law on top of the other is not going to help that much. On top of that, whether it's got a pistol grip on it, or a shoulder stock, or a disc or doohickey, okay, it's still a fucking gun. It's still a fucking gun. Okay? And a gun, doesn't matter if it's a 5-round capacity or bolt action or a single shot, a gun is going to be a nuclear weapon when it's used against unarmed people, especially in the lower grade levels, like for the kindergartners, like in Sandy Hook and shit like that. Okay? You have to have school shooter drills. Because school shootings are more common than fires now these days. True. You have to have first aid. You have to know surveillance, cameras, locked doors, steel doors, okay? No, evacuate. You have to learn these things. Okay? And you have to have an armed guard or armed officer or armed agent on campus. And obviously that person will have to be trained. Obviously they have to have the same level as a police officer. As far as like marksmanship and shit like that. They may have to go to the police academy on the weekends and take a special class. So the police academy, Monday through Friday, teaches police officers. And then maybe on Saturday and Sunday, they teach armed school guards or some shit like that. They have to have a special class for that. So the armed guard is capable of using his firearm. Okay, the background check, all that shit would have to be pretty stringent. But you have to have some form of resistance. And Tennessee is one of the few states that's actually, I mean, they the fucking day after the shooting in the Catholic school by the transgender person, they started mandating school safety, which means in order for the school to get state funding, they are required to meet certain safety guidelines. Okay? The principal could be removed for failing to meet guidelines. Okay? The city of the school could be fined for failing to meet guidelines. Okay? And they've had schools where they have these crisis assessors. They're guys that go around and look for crisis problems with the weaknesses. That door's jarred open. Like this door here is wide open with a rock holding it open. Why? Well, it's hot. Okay, it's hot. Where does the door lead to? Well, it leads from outside to the inside of the school. Okay? Or it leads across that way into that way. Okay? I mean, they've had kids that say, I'm going to come to school with a gun, I'm going to fucking kill every single one of you. And they laugh it off. If you read why Meadow died about the Parkland case, they went out of their way to let that happen. That kid told them every chance he got, I am going to get a gun and I am going to kill all of you. You will all die. He said it every day. I mean, read that book. I challenge you to read that book. That kid said every day, I'm going to kill all of you. You will die. He said it every single day. Now, the simple fact that he is in school saying, I will get a gun and I will kill you. That itself is a crime. He could have been sent to jail for that. Instead, they waited and waited and waited and waited and waited. And then when he went bananas and killed everybody, oh man. The principal in that case said, if this guy appears on campus with a book bag, automatically assume he has a gun. Okay. If I am so worried about you that I honestly believe you're gonna bring a gun to school and kill my fucking students, guess what? You're not coming to my school. Okay? You will not be in my school. I will have you arrested every time you come to my property. I will tell security this person is a threat to our students. And if they appear, they have to be arrested immediately. You have to grab them immediately and detain them. You have to call the police immediately. They have to be arrested. And if the Board of Ed or the mayor's office or some other assholes said to me flat out, Mr. S, you are cruel and unusual, you're weird, I would say, listen, I resign. I am afraid that student will kill my students. That student is a threat to my students. If he comes on this school property, it will not be my school. I will resign rather than be responsible for what happens. And I would resign, make a public statement saying I'm afraid of that kid. Okay, that's the issue. Okay, you have to be serious about this shit. So Tennessee is the only state that I'm aware of, maybe Texas or Florida changed their idea, but Tennessee, which is like 99% conservative, is the only state that is actually taking this shit seriously. We had a massive shooting, bunch of little kids killed. Okay, and we will now take all these steps. And they are being ridiculed for it. The same exact people that say we need one more gun law to save innocent lives are ridiculing Tennessee for being cruel. You're putting armed teachers in school. You're having too much. Fuck them. Okay, I would rather my state never have another school shooting ever again, or have every school shooter shot dead at the entranceway. Okay, I would rather have that than have liberals approve of me. Okay, I don't need a gold star from the Brady campaign. I don't need a gold star from Mom's Demand bullshit. Okay, I mean, when these fucking liberal assholes with their fucking gun control shit, when they rate safety, it doesn't matter if it's safety in a school or a city or a state. When they rate you on gun safety, they rate you on how strict the gun laws are. California has the highest rating from the Brady campaign, in spite of LA and San Fran, their high crime rates. Illinois has a much higher rating from the Brady campaign than Florida, even though Illinois contains Chicago. The Brady campaign and other assholes told people in Chicago not to go on vacation to Florida because they might get killed. Think about that for a minute. You are literally going to Chicago and telling people not to go to Florida because they might get killed. Okay, so I don't need their approval for my guns, for my school safety. Because they don't rate the schools how there's an armed guard in the school, there's bulletproof doors in the school, there's surveillance cameras in the school, there's single point entry in the school. Okay, the school has shooting drills, the school has first aid kits. They don't rate it as that. They rate it as how strict the gun laws in your state. So if you have a school in the state where there's always gun laws, that will get an A for safety. If you have a school in a state where there are no gun laws, doesn't matter how safe the state school is, they'll get an F. Okay? So, kudos for Tennessee. Your teachers, I imagine more of them have guns already than teachers up here. Okay, I imagine that the teachers that are carrying guns are going to have some kind of requirements for safety, marksmanship, stuff like that. But kudos to Tennessee because they're actually doing something about it. Okay? I would love to see, when it's all ironed out, what the new Tennessee safety guidelines are for schools. I would love to see all schools shall have this effective this school day. I would love to see all that done. And I'll do another video when that happens. Thank you. Bye.